Saint Benedict of Nursia. March 14th. Fleeing the corruption of Rome, Saint Benedict sought a life of ascetic solitude, eventually establishing the foundational rule for Western monasticism. A heads up in the spirit of transparency. Please be advised that this content may include attempted poisoning and ascetic extremes. Saint Benedict of Nursia, an Orthodox saint of the pre-schism West, lived from approximately 480 to 547 AD. His life unfolded during a period of significant societal change in Italy, following the decline of the Western Roman Empire. Amidst this flux, Saint Benedict emerged as a pivotal figure, renowned as the father of Western monasticism. His enduring legacy rests primarily upon his authorship of the Rule of Saint Benedict, a comprehensive guide for communal monastic life. This rule became a foundational text for thousands of religious communities, shaping the spiritual landscape of the West for centuries. The primary source for his life is the second book of the Dialogues, written by Pope Saint Gregory the Great of Rome, who is also venerated as Saint Gregory the Dialogist in the Orthodox Church. Saint Gregory compiled the details of Benedict's life from the direct accounts of 4 of the saint's own disciples, ensuring a close connection to the saint's lived experience. Benedict was born in 480 in Nursia, Italy, to a noble family. In his youth, his parents sent him to Rome for education. However, the young Benedict was profoundly disturbed by the decadent and immoral lifestyle he observed among his fellow students. He perceived a spiritual danger in the world's temptations. Desiring to preserve his soul and pursue a life dedicated to God, he secretly left the city of Rome, forsaking worldly prospects for spiritual seeking. He withdrew to a remote area near Subiaco, seeking true solitude. On his journey, he encountered a monk named Romanus. Romanus, recognizing Benedict's sincere desire for asceticism, tonsured him into monasticism. He then guided Benedict to a secluded cave where the saint lived in profound solitude, dedicating himself to prayer and ascetic struggle for 3 years. During this period, Romanus provided him with sustenance, lowering food down the cliffside by a rope. This time in the cave was a crucible for Benedict, where he confronted and overcame severe spiritual and physical temptations through unwavering prayer, fasting, and vigilance. His steadfastness in this hidden struggle prepared him for the spiritual leadership he would later undertake. The holiness of Benedict's life, though lived in seclusion, eventually became known to local shepherds and other monks. Initially, the demands of leading others were a challenge, even a temptation to his preferred solitude. However, his virtue and spiritual insight were undeniable. Disciples began to gather around him, drawn by his sanctity and seeking his spiritual guidance. Recognizing God's will for him to serve others, Benedict organized these men into 12 small monastic communities. For each community, he appointed an abbot, thereby laying the groundwork for an organized Cenobitic life. Saint Benedict's growing reputation and his strict adherence to monastic discipline, which he also instilled in his communities, unfortunately inspired jealousy. A local priest named Florentius harbored ill will and attempted to poison Benedict. Florentius sent poisoned wine and bread to the saint. According to his biographer, Saint Gregory, when Saint Benedict made the sign of the cross over the wineglass, the glass shattered, revealing the treachery. When he blessed the poisoned bread, a raven flew in and carried it away, preventing its consumption. These events served as a clear witness to God's protection over his chosen servant. The Dialogues also record other miracles performed through Saint Benedict's intercession, including the raising of a young man from the dead, further confirming the grace that rested upon him. To escape the persistent envy and plots of Florentius, Saint Benedict discerned it was time to move. He left Subiaco around the year 529 and traveled to Monte Cassino, a prominent hill in Italy. Upon arrival, he found a pagan temple dedicated to Apollo still in active use by the local populace. With divine zeal, Saint Benedict destroyed the pagan temple and its idols. On its ruins, he established a great monastery, dedicating it to Saint Martin and Saint John the Baptist. It was at Monte Cassino that he would live for the rest of his earthly life, establishing a spiritual beacon in a land still touched by paganism and where he would compose his famous rule. At Monte Cassino, Saint Benedict wrote his rule for monasteries. This document is not a theoretical work of abstract spirituality, but a practical guide for living a cenobitic or communal monastic life under the spiritual authority of an abbot. The rule is characterized by its profound balance of prayer, ora, work, lavora, and study. It emphasizes moderation in ascetic practice, avoiding extremes, and fosters virtues such as humility, obedience to the abbot, and stability within the monastic community. The rule provided a structured path for monks to pursue salvation collectively, cultivating internal peace and external order. This comprehensive rule became the standard for Western monasticism, profoundly influencing the spiritual development of countless souls and the cultural landscape of Europe. Saint Benedict, through divine revelation, foresaw the day of his own repose. 6 days prior to his departure, he ordered his grave to be opened, preparing for his final rest. He fell ill with a fever. On the final day of his earthly life, he received Holy Communion, strengthening himself for the journey. Supported by his disciples, he stood in prayer in the chapel, his arms raised towards heaven. In this posture of prayer, he peacefully gave his soul to God on March 21st, 547. The Orthodox Church commemorates Saint Benedict on March 14th. His beloved sister, Saint Scholastica, who had established a community for women nearby under a similar spiritual discipline, had reposed just 40 days earlier, signifying a shared spiritual culmination for these two holy siblings.